everyone. Welcome to the Unit 12 summary sheet. We're getting close to the end of the unit. We still have a few more things to do after the summary, but this will hopefully get you ready for the quiz, which will be on Friday. So what are some of the things that we talked about so far in this unit? What do you need to know? Well, we talked about sine and cosine. Sine, we start at 0 and we end at 0. You always want to focus in on your 5 key points. We have our x and our y. We have 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. And sine, we start at 0, we go up to 1, back down to 0, to -1. And I always want you guys to go ahead and focus in on those 5 points. Now, no transformation was happened here. We just have sine of x. It wasn't moved to the left or right, up or down, okay? So we know that our domain is going from 0 to 2 pi, which is also 360 degrees. The range, how low can you go to how high? We know we're going from -1 to +1. Okay, and with this right here, you guys have to know that it's going to cross the x-axis halfway, and that's going to hit 0 again. So we start at 0, cross halfway at 0, and it'll end at 0 again. Okay, now cosine, and I'm just going to actually write start at 0, end at 0. Cosine, we're going to start at the amplitude and end at the amplitude. Okay, so we're going to start right here at the amplitude and then right here at the amplitude. And again, there's no shift up or down, left or right. And then you guys, when you guys go ahead and focus in on your key points for cosine, your y values, you're going to start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude. You're going to go to 0 at 90, to -1 at 180, back to 0, and then to 1. And again, these are your 5 key points with no transformation happening. And your domain, 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 360. Your range, again, from -1, how low can you go, to how high. Your range are your y values from there. All right, your amplitude is the height of the graph from the midline. The amplitude of y equals negative sine x is 1, since the height is always positive. A lot of kids want to think that that's a negative, but that negative just means that it was reflected there. So we want to state the range of each of the following. I'm actually going to state the amplitude. All right, so we're going to state the amplitude. The amplitude is right out in front, so my amplitude is equal to 2 here. And in this case, my amplitude here is going to be +3. Again, your amplitude you find right out in front, and that negative does not mean it's a negative amplitude. It's not how high it is. That tells you a reflection. Okay, moving right on to frequency and period. Frequency is how many full cycles over 2 pi units, okay? And the period is how long it takes to see 1 cycle. And your period is going to be 360 divided by your frequency. Okay, so if we take a look right here, we have our amplitude sitting out in front. It doesn't ask for that, but your amplitude is 1. This is your frequency right here. So your frequency B is equal to 2. What that means is you're going to see 2 cycles of sine from 0 to 360. Okay, so you would see something like this. You would start at 0, end at 0. That would be 1. Start at 0, end at 0. That would be 2. Okay, so you'd see 2 full cycles from 0 to 360. The period will tell you how long it takes to see 1 cycle. So you would have 360 divided by 2, which you have a frequency of 2, which is 180. So from 0 to 180, you would see one cycle, and from 180 to 360, you would see your second cycle. Your midline is the horizontal center line above the function that you guys see. It's always an equation, and you will see your midline right here, y is equal to -3. Your midline is the midpoint between your highest and your lowest, okay? And you're going to see right here that you're going to see 2 sine, but every point is going to be shifted down 3 points. This right here is a shift down 3 points. So we're going to go ahead and graph this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those of you guys who are just writing this all on a sheet of paper, please make sure that you label your x-axis with 90, 180, 270, and 360. Now you do have to be careful here. Sine does start at 0 and goes down to 1, which means we're going to have to at least take that point and move them all down 1. So you're going to do sine. We're going to start at 0. And you would notice up here that it's -1. If we move that down, we're going to be at -4. So when you label this 1, 2, 3, 4, this has to be -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is +4. We really don't even actually have to go that high, but so for this right here, we're going to have a frequency of 2. So from 0 to 180, 0 to 180, you're going to see 1. You're going to start at 0, end at 0. I'm not going to shift all the points down 3 until I graph the 1, and then I'll shift everything down 3. Now, technically, you can throw that right into your calculator, your y equals, and get your graph right here and your table and plot all your points, and you can do it that way too. So it doesn't matter, but you have to make sure that you have your calculator set up, which I explained in a previous video. So with this, you guys can go ahead and start at 0, midway between, you're going to go up to 1, back down to 0, to -1, and you will see that you have 1. We're going to go back up to 1, 0, -1, back to 0. And this right here is y is equal to sine 2x. Now you have to take every single one of those points and shift it down 3 units. I'll do this with a different color. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then this right here was the shift down 3 units, and you can graph that there. Y is equal to sine 2x minus 3, and everything was shifted down 3 units there, okay? You guys can see that your midline is at -3 right here. So y is equal to -3. That's your midline. That's the distance between your highest and your lowest, your midway between there. Okay. All right. So max and min. So your max is the midline plus the amplitude, and your min is the midline minus the amplitude. So for this one right here, this is your amplitude. This right here is your midline. So you're going to do 45 plus your amplitude, which is 20, and you're going to be at 65. So the highest point of this right here is going to be 65. And your lowest point is the midline, which is 45 minus my amplitude, which is 20, and that's going to give us 25. So this is your min and that's your max of this. And you can do that for any single problem that you see here. Okay, anytime you guys see a negative, you guys should know that it's flipped. So here, this is sine. We start at 0, and usually it goes up to 1. You're going to go down and then back up again. And here, for cosine, you would start at 1, but because it's flipped or reflected over the x-axis, you're going to go to that -1. Okay, identifying the equations, the first thing that you want to do is you want to look at the origin. Does it look like the sine or cosine curve? Once you determine that, you're going to decide if it's negative or positive, and that's, again, the reflection. What is the amplitude and the frequency? And be careful of the x-axis, and that's because that'll change the frequency. This is going from 0 to 360 right here. This is going from 0 to 90. This 90 here is going to affect our frequency. So the first thing is here you're going to see that it starts at 0. So we know that it's going to be sine. It's going downward, so we know that it's reflected. It's going to -1 instead of +1. So we know that this right here is reflected. What is my amplitude here? We have 0, 1, 2, 3. So we know A is equal to 3. The frequency, start at 0, midway back to 0, end at 0, that's 1. Midway 0, end at 0, that's 2, 3. So you're going to stay right here. We have your 5 key points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's another curve right here. So that's 2, and then your last one goes back here, and that is 3. So your B is also 3, your frequency. And we are careful. We know that it's going from 0 to 360, so we can put this all together. We have y is equal to negative. The amplitude always goes out in front. So we have 3 sine 3x. That's where your frequency goes. We don't have any shift up or down. The midline is at 0, your max and your min, so you're good with that. Okay, and this one right here, you need to be extremely careful and aware that this needs to go to 360. So, for example, this would keep going on and on and on and on all the way to 360. It's a continuous cycle. We know right here, the first thing is it sine or cosine? We know it's cosine. It started at +1, so it was not reflected. My amplitude, +2. My amplitude is equal to 2. The frequency, the 5 key points here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude. So there's your 5 key points. Right here, start at amplitude, end at amplitude. That's my second. Now, a lot of kids want to do B is equal to 2. That would be incorrect. You have to realize there's 2 cycles from pi over 2, which is 90. What do we have to do to 90 to get to 2 pi, which is 360? We have to multiply that by 4. Well, you're going to have to do the same thing here and multiply that 2 times 4 to get 8. So my B is going to be 8. So we put all that together and we get y is equal to 2 cosine 8x. So just be very, very, very careful with that right there when you do anything independently. Okay, and then we have the word problem. The hottest day of the year is 30 degrees Celsius. The coolest is 10 Celsius. That happened on July 1st. What is the min height, the max, the midline, amplitude, period, frequency? Okay, so you guys can see that the min is going to be 10. the max is going to be 30. Your midline is halfway between, so you can add those up and divide by 2. And we're going to get 20. Your amplitude or your highest is going to be 30. Your midline, your amplitude, 30 minus 20, which is going to give you 10. The period here is going to be 12 months. The frequency is 360 divided by 12, which is pi over 6. We have y is equal to 10 cosine. This is your amplitude, cosine, pi over 6 x plus your midline, plus 20. Okay? All right, and then we want to sketch one full cycle here. So you guys realize that cosine, you're going to start at your amplitude and end at your amplitude. But then we're going to be moving it up 20. So you're going to start here, for example, and you're going to end there. But you're going to be moving everything up 20. So it's going to be 30, 30. We're going to be at 20 here. 10. And that would be your shift up 20 from every point here. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. If you have any questions, please let me know.